Welcome back. The former senior partner at the collapsed law firm Mahrache & Co., Isaac Mahrache, has concluded his evidence at the Supreme Court this week. Mr. Mahrache told the court that he didn't even know his company's bank account numbers, let alone check the accounts. Of the week preceding the collapse of the law firm in February 2010, Isaac Mahrache said his world was falling apart and that he had been close to a nervous breakdown.
In the ongoing Mahrache fraud trial, Isaac Mahrache has been giving evidence on and off since early February. He spent much of the week answering questions from lead prosecutor John McGuinness QC, who asked the defendant whether he pressed his brothers Solomon and Benjamin Mahrache on where the money had gone when he first discovered the firm was in a financial mess. Isaac Mahrache said he did not press his brothers for an explanation at the time, adding he was in a state of shock. Mr. McGuinness put it to the defendant that it followed as clear as night follows day that monies had been misappropriated and stolen, suggesting that as senior partner he must have realized this. But Isaac Mahrache denied this. The prosecution argued the former senior partner tried to save his skin right up to the last minute, but the 58-year-old repeatedly denied this, arguing he did what he could to assist the authorities at what was a very bad time for him. On a number of occasions, when shown bank statements for Mahrache & Co., and specifically monies leaving client accounts, Isaac Mahrache claimed it was the first time he'd seen the statement. He went on to claim he didn't check the company accounts, adding he didn't even know his company's bank account numbers. The former senior partner at the collapsed law firm told the Supreme Court he was an extremely busy man with 2 PAs, and that he received in excess of 500 emails a day and simply could not read them all. Benjamin Mahrache is the next defendant scheduled to give evidence, but before that happens, the court will hear from Abraham Mahrache, who was a consultant to the firm and was brought in by Isaac Mahrache to assess its problems in late 2009. Abraham Mahrache has been called by lawyers acting for his brother Isaac and is expected to give evidence on the 1st of April. Isaac Mahrache answered some more questions from his own lawyers before concluding his evidence. Along with Solomon and Benjamin Mahrache and Leanne Turnbull, he's pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of conspiracy to defraud millions of pounds of client monies. The trial continues.
Those looking to cross the frontier should soon stand a better chance of beating the queues. In the coming weeks, commuters will be able to program new technology to receive automated alerts by email or text message according to criteria they themselves set. This new intelligent frontier system will be installed by the Gibraltar government by May and will automatically monitor the flow of vehicles into Spain. Speaking to GBC, the Deputy Chief Minister said the new system will also be used to collect statistical information that the government will feed back to the European Commission. Dr. Joseph Garcia told Jonathan Scott how the new system will work.
The project we know it's the frontier monitoring program. This will allow it will involve the setup of a fully automated electronic system which will be used for statistical collection, the gathering of data. It will also allow for interaction with users, generally people stuck in a queue or people who want to go to Spain, and also eventually for law enforcement purposes. But essentially what it means is that there are 12 cameras with automatic number plate recognition set up in the area of the frontier. Signs are going to go up saying where each camera is once they come into operation. What these cameras will do is that they will accurately record the crossing of cars and the waiting time of each particular car that each car takes to cross over into Spain. This will allow the government to gather that data and compile that data and use it for European Commission purposes. So it'll be very accurate, up to the minute, and live data, which is something which is going to be very useful for us. Also, for example, it can do other things. It can determine how many cars of what particular registration country have crossed the border. So the last time we conducted a trial, for example, 68% of cars crossing on that particular day were Spanish-registered cars. Something like 20% were Gibraltar cars. So it gives you a picture also on a flavour of the different nationality of cars and generally of people who would be crossing the border. So it has all these. It's a very exciting use of technological advances to be able to use it for frontier monitoring purposes.
Are these changes in response to the EU's recommendations?
Well, so some changes have come about as a result of the EU, and others are simply government initiatives. We had, for example, at the last meeting of the Development and Planning Commission, a number of changes which came about directly as a result of the EU. These were discussed at the time in public. It includes the installation of barriers, automated barriers at certain points along the queue, for example, and also the creation of a holding area for cars that were going to be searched, which are cars going into Spain, an area to hold those cars if they were going to be searched. That was one of the recommendations of the Commission, you remember, which is the conduct of outgoing checks, which Gibraltar doesn't do at present. So all these things we intend to be in place by May, but the frontier monitoring program in terms of the data and the cameras and the gathering of information is something which is happening independently of that. I mean, another thing which it will allow in terms of interaction with users is that people who want to go to Spain or who are in the queue will be able to program the system to receive an alert either by text message or by email, which will let them know what the flow rate is and when it is a good time to actually cross into Spain. Because the key factor is obviously not the length of the queue or the number of cars in it, but the flow of cars through the frontier. You can have 4 cars and still have to wait for an hour. So this will actually alert people who want to go to Spain. Look, now is a good time because the flow rate is, 40 cars a minute. I'm not sure what it would be, but that's the kind of situation which we'll be talking about. And then another use which system will be put to eventually could be for law enforcement purposes as well.
Dr. Antonio Marin has been appointed the Health Authority's medical director. The consultant physician takes over from Kevin Pizarro, who will now be responsible for the GHA's transition to electronic record keeping. Dr. Marin will continue practicing as a doctor while in this post. No official announcements have been made. The GSD has announced the first of many new housing policy initiatives in the run-up to the next general election. This will include means testing for all applicants for public housing. According to the opposition, this testing will allow the government to deliver public rental homes only to those who genuinely need them.
The GST revealed plans for new housing policies at a press conference this morning. Shadow Minister for Housing Edwin Reyes and party member Elliot Phillips have been working together on the strategy. According to the opposition, its goal is to ensure the provision and allocation of public housing to those most in need. However, the party believes that it is only fair and reasonable to expect that those who can afford to buy do so, and government housing should only be allocated to those who can't.
In Gibraltar, we are blessed. We're blessed to have a very wide range of public services. We criticise sometimes our public services, but we don't really realise the level of public service that there is in Gibraltar in relation to health, in relation to social services. In other areas, we pay very low tax. We have very good pensions. Our pensioners don't pay any tax. So we are truly, truly blessed. But we've got to move away from the concept of universal entitlement, that everybody's entitled to everything, no matter how much you earn, and the state has got to be there in order to provide you with that thing that you want, and to a culture of targeting your help to those that need it, so that in the end it becomes sustainable. And that's what this policy of means testing in relation to government housing and the allocation of government housing is designed to achieve.
Well, the GST have been raising these concerns for some time now, and you will be publishing this policy document. But do you feel that the opposition is actually in a position to do so, especially given that when the GST were in power, even then there were over 1,000 people on the housing list?
Well, there was over 1,000 people in the housing waiting list, but we built over 1,000 homes. I mean, this is an ongoing project. This is about us telling the electorate, look, if we were elected next time round, this is going to be our policy. I said as much last year that we were going to be looking to push out our policies this side of the summer so that people know what to expect of a future GSD government. It's not only about criticising the government, and we believe that we are, when we criticise, we genuinely believe that we have grounds to do so, but it's also about saying and setting out your stall to the electorate and saying, this is what we believe in, this is our policy. What do you think about our policy? Hence why we're also going out to consultation on the detail of the policy. So it's about basically saying, this is our vision for Gibraltar, and of course interact with the public and make sure that by the time the next election comes about, that our policies are fine-tuned and that we have attractive but also reasonable and sustainable policies too.
Mr Feetham says the opposition will take stock after government has completed the allocation process of its new affordable homes and will then make a more detailed announcement.
Unite the Union has balloted over 300 of its members in the Ministry of Defence. The union says a number of concerns have been raised which could have short and long-term implications. GBC understands the concerns relate to measures that could be introduced locally to ensure Gibraltar is in line with the UK. These include performance management and terms and conditions of service. Another issue is the existence of allowances currently applicable to UK civilian staff working in Gibraltar, but not to the local workforce. The ballot seeks a mandate for initial negotiation to avoid any possible strike action. The Sunborn hosted its first corporate conference on Thursday. The Gibraltar Association of Compliance Officers held a keynote seminar in the floating hotel, dealing with current threats and future challenges to the financial services industry. Finance Minister Albert Isola opened the conference, and an address by the Financial Services Commission CEO followed. Samantha Barras said she was very impressed by the number of people present and interested in compliance risk. International speakers were also present and gave speeches on modern methods of investigating money laundering, due diligence and future challenges to financial services. HMS Astute, the lead ship in the Royal Navy's latest class of submarine, called in at Gibraltar on Thursday as part of her maiden operational deployment. The nuclear submarine was commissioned by the Royal Navy in 2010 and ended 4 years of sea trials last month. Gibraltar is her first port of call outside the UK. Speaking during the afternoon's parliamentary session, the Chief Minister said he would be boarding HMS Astute to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the people of Gibraltar. Also this week, the Light Dragoons, a cavalry regiment of the British Army, came to Gibraltar for the first time in their 350-year history. The 2014 Drama Festival saw a variety of local and international performers take to the stage of the Inces Hall, and applications were invited by the Judicial Service Commission for a new batch of Queen's Counsel appointments. For the rest of this week's news, you can also head over to our website gbc.gi/news. Tune in to Radio Gibraltar and GBC Television throughout the week for the very latest local news. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Thank you for watching and good night.